Well, surely you recognize the hair. There is the back of President Trump. He's landed in Key West. Anti-drug trafficking meetings ahead for him today. Thanks for joining us.
Outnumbered starts right now.
Fox News alert for you. We are looking live at President Donald Trump. He has just touched down. Air Force One has arrived in Key West, Florida. The president's scheduled to make a visit there today. It's a 2-hour stop at the Naval Air Station Key West, Truman Annex on Boca Chica Key. As you can see, the president is now on the ground waving at onlookers. While he is there, Secretary of Homeland Security Kirstjen Nielsen will tour the base, and then they will be briefed on the joint interagency task force South's fight against drug trafficking. So the president just took off a short time ago from Palm Beach International, made his way to Key West, Florida. They will be on the ground there for a couple hours. We will track the president's movements and bring you the news as we get it. Meanwhile, Fox News alert, new reaction to President Trump downplaying concerns that he is considering removing special counsel Robert Mueller. The president insisting that he's fully cooperating with the investigation, but that's not tamping down the fears of some in Congress. This is Outnumbered. I'm Sandra Smith, and here today, Harris Faulkner, Fox News contributor Tomi Lahren, former deputy spokesperson for the State Department and Fox News analyst Marie Harf, and joining us on the couch today, former deputy director for Trump's campaign, president of Citizens United, and Fox News contributor David Bossie is here, and he is outnumbered. And it is good to have you back. But Tomi, it is so wonderful to welcome you to the couch for the first time.
Thank you. Good to be in New York.
Yeah.
All the way from the West Coast, the best coast, but it's nice here.
Excellent to have you here. All right. Are we all ready? Shall we begin?
Yeah.
All right. Let's get going. President Trump making new remarks about the Russia investigation and the future of special counsel Robert Mueller, as lawmakers are talking today on Capitol Hill about potential legislation to protect the special counsel. Yesterday, President Trump said he is cooperating, but it's time for this probe to end.
This is a hoax. As far as the investigation, nobody has ever been more transparent than I have. I believe we've given them 1.4 million pages of documents. We are hopefully coming to the end. It is a bad thing for our country, very, very bad thing for our country. But there has been no collusion. They won't find any collusion. It doesn't exist.
The president was also asked whether he is going to fire special counsel Robert Mueller or Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein. He played down those concerns.
As far as the two gentlemen you told me about, they've been saying I'm going to get rid of them for the last 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, and they're still here.
The Senate Judiciary Committee met this morning to discuss a bill to protect the special counsel, despite the fact that Senator Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said that he would never bring such a bill up for a vote. Here's Republican Chairman Chuck Grassley.
Obviously, the views of the majority leader are important to consider, but they do not govern what happens here in the Judiciary Committee. If consideration on the floor was a standard for approving a bill in committee or not, we wouldn't be probably moving any bills out of this committee.
Maria, I hear you jumping in before the camera's even on you. So, meanwhile, while we begin this lovely discussion, there is the president on the ground there in Key West, and we'll keep an eye on those live pictures as he makes his way to his meeting there. But, Marie, go ahead. Jump on in.
Well, I was going to say Chuck Grassley's actually right when he says that they can move bills regardless of whether or not they'll go to the floor. This is not a hoax. The Mueller investigation is real and serious and ongoing, and it's stunning to me, going back to Chuck Grassley, that a leading Republican and some of his Republican fellow senators are so concerned about what I'm sure David will say is not going to happen, that they are willing to move legislation despite the fact that the president will never sign it and Mitch McConnell will never put it up for a vote. That says something to me about the Republican Party.
No, it says something to you because the left in this country hates this president so much that every couple of weeks this president has to say he's not firing guys he hasn't fired and has no intention of firing. The mainstream media, which is really doing the bidding of the anti-Trump movement, and very clearly so, forces him to say, I'm not going to fire these guys all the time. It's destructive to the country, and it's not helpful to the investigation.
You know, and the president continues to reiterate, as we watch him live down there in Florida, that Tommy says I put everything out there. I have been fully cooperating. It's time for this probe to end. At least he's hoping that is the case. When is Robert Mueller going to show us what he has, if he has anything?
That's what we're all waiting for, to be quite honest. And it is a distraction. Yes, investigations are important, but I think the American people are getting to the point where they're wondering, if there's something there, what is it? If not, why are you wasting our time? Why are you wasting our money? There are things that are impacting real Americans in this country on a daily basis. I'm sure you know this as well. I'm sure we can all agree that average Americans don't go home at night and wonder about the Mueller investigation. They wonder about their taxes. They wonder about how they're going to send their children to college. They wonder about sanctuary city policies in my home state and keeping themselves and their families safe. That's what they care about. This has been going on far too long. We're sick of it.
We need to get back to business, right? That's what this is about. You know, the president's frustrated. He has an agenda to make America great again, which is the campaign slogan he ran on, and that's what he's been doing for the last 15 months in an incredible way. Whether it's our economy or our national security, we are safer and more prosperous today than we were when he became president. And those are the facts. And this president's doing a great job every day. And look, scandal fatigue is a real thing. Ask Bill Clinton. They ran a campaign in the 90s where it was, the American people are tired of these ongoing investigations. And that's what hurt the Republicans in the 90s. And I think the Democrats are overplaying their hand here.
I would say this, because I think Tommy's right. On average, most people really don't care about what happens until we get to the end and we are told what was found or what was not found in terms of evidence. But I do think that there is a political push now going on that people think that they can be part of. And so you look at what's happening in Pittsburgh today, where they are now calling out for their SWAT and other police department enforcement teams to be ready, because more than 2,000 people have signed on to a petition to cooperate in any sort of a protest that would go on if he fires Robert Mueller. Think about that for a second. Most of us could lose our jobs and there would certainly not be a protest. But Robert Mueller could lose his job and they've got to bring out riot gear in Pittsburgh. So people have at least latched on to this idea that it is one side versus the other.
You're exactly right. Look at what the left did from the moment Donald Trump won the election in November. There have been protests. The left has been fomenting this anger and hatred across America every day since. They have not given him one chance to succeed. They only want to destroy him, delegitimize him, and impeach him if they take over the House.
Tommy?
People are looking for a reason to protest. They do it with every protest they have, every march they have. It's just all anti-Trump. Do the people of Pittsburgh, are they really protesting against a possible firing of Robert Mueller? Maybe. The people on the streets?
No.
Is the average person really thinking about that, or are they just taking
Tommy, that they're protesting against is the fact that they feel like the president has scooped up potentially too much power as he could make this move.
Or that he's trying to end an
my question for
investigation
the
into
people
him.
on the ground would be, well, what happens if he doesn't fire Mueller? Like, where are you going to be watching it? Just
the never-ending story.
No one will ever say that. That's actually.
Well, I'll actually say it. I want to see Bob Mueller's report.
How long is it going to take for us? I mean, how many years
How about
are we going to
a
use this?
deadline?
Well, look,
Presidency.
I lived through an administration for 8 years where there were investigations that took almost all 8 years. So we don't need to now think things should go quicker than they did for us, especially when it's about Russian interference in our election.
Well, the only ones that colluded was Hillary Clinton.
Well, that's not,
Crooked H is the only campaign that did that.
That's actually not true, but I'm fine for you to say that. My point is, we don't know what Bob Mueller has. And we all want to see it.
Does he know what he has?
Yes, and he will. And I think his working theory is that he wants to get this wrapped up as soon as possible.
It's been going on for almost 2 years.
All right, so
a working theory is no longer operable.
Well, no, it's okay.
I mean, but the president.
I was making a point.
The president has shown, though, and
the president has refused to sit down with the special counsel and answer questions that only the president can answer. So until we have a resolution of that issue, whether he will be interviewed or not,
then he's refusing to be trapped by the special counsel.
He's not trapped if he tells the truth.
He has been.
I mean, if he lies, he'll get in trouble.
Look at what they did to Scooter Libby in the 90s. This is what prosecutors do.
With just this point, and it is the idea that this particular special counsel's hallmark now is raids. And so when you look at the aggression, according to the attorneys for both Paul Manafort and Michael Cohen, when you look at the aggression that this particular special counsel has moved forth with, it's understandable that somebody might have a little cautionary behavior towards sitting down with him. Remember, Marie, just a short time ago, they were talking about the parameters of a sit-down. It wasn't off the table. The president said he would want to do it, and politically, I think he knows he should do it.
You're right. You're right.
But now we're looking at a situation where Manafort and Cohen reportedly were really cooperating with the investigation.
Not according to the Republicans who signed off on those raids. Not according to Republican law enforcement officials who said those raids were legally necessary.
No. That's a different argument. Whether they were legal.
Necessary.
And whether they were
because
legally
there was evidence
necessary,
they were destroying evidence.
Per what they could.
Look, there's been no evidence of that. Come on.
And there's someone else who destroyed evidence.
They did.
That Michael Cohen
and they did to Republican, the Deputy Attorney General, a lifelong Republican, a Trump appointee. They did to the Southern District of New York. They repeatedly proved that those raids were necessary in this ongoing investigation.
They have to prove that those men were.
And they did.
Just finally, though, do you agree with this bill to protect Mueller from being fired?
Absolutely. As Americans, we should want the special counsel to finish his job, as people like Trey Gowdy and Chuck Grassley and many Republicans have said.
If there was any evidence, this investigation's been going on almost 2 years. Robert Mueller's been in there a year. This investigation, with all of the leaks, everything that's been going on, we would know if there was collusion. And I can tell you, there was none during the campaign. There is no evidence of it because it didn't exist. It is a hoax.
Right. You know what I can tell you?
Welcome, Tommy.
This is just getting started. Yes, welcome, Tommy. House Oversight Committee Chairman Trey Gowdy requesting an Inspector General's investigation into concerns that James Comey's FBI coordinated with Loretta Lynch's DOJ in the Hillary Clinton investigation. Mr. Comey denied that to Congress, and now a prominent Republican lawmaker says Mr. Comey may have lied. Also, Comey now saying he regrets that his tell-all memoir included flattering details about the president. Will that quiet critics, or has the damage already been done?
If I had it to do over again, I wouldn't put that paragraph in, even though just because it gave people a handhold who hadn't read the book to it. Look me in the eye and listen to what I'm about to say. I did not coordinate that with anyone. The White House, the Department of Justice, nobody outside the FBI family had any idea what I was about to say. I say that under oath. I stand by that. There was no coordination.
That was then FBI Director James Comey telling Congress he did not coordinate with the Justice Department on his exoneration of Hillary Clinton from criminal charges in the email server case. Fast forward to now. House Freedom Caucus Chairman Mark Meadows says he's seen evidence proving Comey did what he's denying.
Over and over again now, we have emails that would suggest that that testimony was false and at best misled the American public, at worst was lying to Congress. There's even another email from the Department of Justice that would indicate that on how to articulate the exoneration of Hillary Clinton.
And he went on to say there's additional evidence that would suggest that the DOJ narrowed the scope of the Hillary investigation to make sure she was exonerated. Meadows recently asked House Oversight Committee Chairman Trey Gowdy to look into the latest accusations against Comey. Gowdy now has written a letter to the FBI, the DOJ, and the Inspector General requesting that they, in fact, take up this investigation. David?
There clearly needs to be a very quick investigation. This doesn't need to be protracted. This can be done. It's internal. It's within the DOJ and the FBI, and it's the Strzok and Page emails that we continue to learn about.
Sure.
Mark Meadows has done an amazing job as part of the oversight team, and now Trey Gowdy's on the case. Look, this is very important because we can't have a double standard. You can't have Mike Flynn held to one set of standards of lying and potentially, Comey or McCabe lying under oath as well.
And part of the reason, Tommy, that we can't have that is because then the only difference would be what they were lying about, and we can't have that.
Of course not. And I think that because Comey is thrusting himself into the spotlight, I said it on Twitter the other day, it's only a matter of time before he's on Dancing with the Stars. He's drawing all this attention to himself. And so he's raising more questions. And his story's changing a little bit. He's putting on the nice smile for the ladies of The View. Meanwhile, the American people have questions. But I agree with you. If we're going to do an investigation, make it fast. There is no reason these needs to be prolonged.
So something that you just said kind of stuck in my head. And you said, oh, you could make it a quick investigation. Can we do that? Can we order up quick investigations? Where do I go order that up?
Well, no, you have limited people, limited jurisdiction. You have the Department of Justice employees. You have the FBI employees. Those are very contained, and I think you're dealing with...
the contained were contagious.
Well, the Inspector General is the right place to look at this. As we've seen Congress, it's challenging for them to investigate things right now, given the partisanship on both sides. So Trey Gowdy asking the Inspector General to look at it is probably the place to go. I think that we haven't seen everything Mark Meadows is talking about and making accusations. So at some point, we have to stop hearing accusations, and we need to see some of the evidence. Maybe the Inspector General will put a report out where we can.
I think it's pretty difficult to picture a partner dancing with the stars. Isn't he 6'8"? Who would they pair him with, Tommy?
That is fun to think about.
We'll see.
He's very graceful.
But that being said, if this was the case, if you know, somehow the investigation happens and they find they lie, people just want to know, is there ultimately going to be accountability? There just seems to be too many getting away with too much.
Marie's point is a good one, and I think the Inspector General's report, which is going to come out, I believe, in about 3 weeks or so, is going to educate.
Could be explosive.
I think it's going to educate the American people in a very big way about what McCabe was doing, what Comey was doing, what Page and Strzok and the others, maybe names we've never heard of, were doing behind the scenes to coordinate to tamp down the Clinton administration or the Clinton investigation.
And Marie, I would think that we could all agree upon this as Americans, that whatever was going on, if there were something that gave a chilling effect in the FBI, whether it was the way James Comey did business, if he had a bent one way or the other politically and seemed to be leaning, if he was just bad with everybody, you know, Republicans and Democrats, they don't like him either party really. But I think the American people just want to find that out. And I wish it could be brief, because that way we all stay tuned in, because it's important.
Well, it is. And I think we also have to be, I mean, there is a chance that the Inspector General will say Hillary Clinton should not have been criminally charged. Right?
And there's a chance that the Inspector General could say the opposite.
Exactly. Right. And so until we see that, until we know what this investigation has been comprised of, we all sort of wait and speculate.
All right, let's scoot to this. House Judiciary Committee Chairman Bob Goodlatte is ready to subpoena the Justice Department over former FBI Director James Comey's memos. Remember, I think he grabbed from some of those for his book. And it reportedly could happen as early as this week. Last Friday, Chairman Goodlatte and 2 other House committee chairmen wrote a letter to Deputy AG Rod Rosenstein demanding unredacted versions of those memos. The memos are said to contain Comey's conversations with President Trump before he was fired. And Comey wrote about some of that in his book. So far, nothing has been produced. Lawmakers say Congress and the American people have a right to see the memos for themselves. Meanwhile, Comey says he now regrets that a portion of his tell-all memoir details President Trump's physical appearance. Watch.
If I had it to do over again, I wouldn't put that paragraph in, even though just because it gave people a handhold who hadn't read the book to attack the book. I do see people have seized onto that as a distraction, and so I'm answering honestly. If I had to do over again, I would tear that paragraph out.
Wow, he only read it once? He didn't have a chance to edit?
It's more than one paragraph.
Okay. There's new criticism for the former director, too. Here's former FBI Assistant Director Chris Swecker, who served in the agency for 24 years.
He and his small inner circle were an aberration. The FBI does not do business like that. When they go to work, they check their personal opinions and their political views at the door when they go out to do the public's business. And Comey makes it look like it's all about the politics, and politics and polls drive things that the FBI does.
You know, you pointed out, David, it was more than just one paragraph that he degraded the president's appearance. If this had been a woman, there would be protests in the streets about this. And by the way, he talked about his skin color.
Yeah, he was petty.
Right.
I'm
not kidding.
He was very petty in this book. He talks about putting a shiny apple on the president's desk, you know, and the president comes in and he eats a different brand of apple, and how it's just salacious stuff that he's trying to put into a book to make $1.
Or not. But the point is that if he was using classified information that's in those memos to write a book and then sell it, why can't the American people see that? We're talking about 7 memos, 5 of them had classified information. He's using information in those memos to write and sell books.
If the American people shouldn't see them, the members of Congress, the leadership definitely should.
And Tommy, it isn't just the classified information. That's bad enough. But it's just the idea of who owns the memos. Did he own them?
Exactly. Well, it's kind of his memos. We need to see them. We need to be able to decide for ourselves.
Government property?
You'd think that it would be. I mean, it's kind of like his diary in a way, but if he's profiting off of a book and he's got, you know, this is the topic of conversation. Obviously, we're talking about it at length today.
Right.
This is the conversation the American people are having. We have a right to see it. Doesn't matter what side of the political aisle you are on. Comey loves himself. He started this whole thing. He's a leaker. He's petty. So let's the American people have the right to see it.
What really deeply concerned me was Chris Wecker, that 24-year veteran of the FBI that we spoke with this morning, and his deep concern, love of the FBI, his deep concern over the damage he believes James Comey is doing with this media blitz, and his actions while he was at the FBI as well.
So here's what I would say to that. I do not think Jim Comey was a perfect FBI director or is a perfect messenger now for some anti-Trump message, okay? I don't think that. Despite that fact, we cannot and should not overlook some of the concerns he is raising about why he was fired, which we know Bob Mueller is looking into, and about some concerns about how President Trump is governing. Put aside the petty stuff, okay?
That's hard to do.
It is hard to do. It is hard to do, but we can't use it to avoid looking at some of the other criticisms because Jim Comey is by far an imperfect messenger.
If he had fired James Comey on day one of his administration,
totally different.
Based on Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi's attacks, it's a different thing, right?
Totally different. I totally agree.
Lanny Davis, former counsel to Bill Clinton when he was president, said yesterday, he told me yesterday, I think Barack Obama should have fired him. We shouldn't have even had this be on the president's plate currently.
Right. I agree.
All right. The White House is putting the full court press on vulnerable Democrats to support Mike Pompeo's nomination for the next Secretary of State. Can they get some to flip? And he did write a book on the art of the deal. President Trump saying he is willing to walk away from talks with North Korea's dictator if that's needed. Is that a smart approach? Stay close.
If I think that it's a meeting that is not going to be fruitful, we're not going to go. If the meeting when I'm there is not fruitful, I will respectfully leave the meeting.
Developments on a potential U.S.-North Korea meeting. President Trump saying he could back out of a sit-down with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un. If he's not confident, it will amount to anything. Watch.
We've never been in a position like this with that regime, whether it's father, grandfather, or son. And I hope to have a very successful meeting. If I think that it's a meeting that is not going to be fruitful, we're not going to go. If the meeting when I'm there is not fruitful, I will respectfully leave the meeting. And we'll continue what we're doing or whatever it is that we'll continue. But something will happen.
All of this, says the White House and its allies in Congress, put on the full court press for Mike Pompeo's nomination for Secretary of State, or confirmation of him, after his secret meeting with Kim. The Senate Foreign Relations Committee is set to vote on Pompeo Monday, and Republican Senator Tom Cotton had this warning for Democrats considering voting against Pompeo.
Mike Pompeo will be confirmed. It's simply a matter of whether or not the Senate Democrats want to confirm him with a large bipartisan majority, the way we have confirmed nominees with whom we've had many political disagreements in the past, or whether they want to continue playing partisan games. If they do so in the re-election, they may suffer the consequences.
Ooh, so far, Rand Paul's the only Republican no. Well, at this point, Democrats. Paul, however, said he would meet with Pompeo before the vote. And several Democrats who voted yes for Pompeo to head the CIA are undecided. Some of them up for re-election in states Trump won. Going back to Tom Cotton's warning, be careful. He's urging caution to those senators who are considering voting no in states Trump won. Be careful, he says.
There's 10 of those Democrats up for re-election that where President Trump won their states. It is going to be troubling because the American people are tired of this incredible partisanship and this gridlock, and they want to see some people get some things done. And this is a very simple thing to be able to come together on. And I think that this is going to be a backlash against the Democrats.
And how could you vote no for Mike Pompeo if you said he was acceptable and more than good enough to be the CIA director?
Well, this is not even partisanship. It's just anti-Trump, and we're seeing it in every area of government. We're seeing it all over the mainstream media. It's just this wave of resistance, and they think they're going to do it by any means necessary. Again, he's already doing the job So why would we put a halt on the diplomatic efforts that he's trying to put forth, put our country at stake because some Democrats still don't like Trump, so they want to slam their fists on the table and act like crybabies? The American people are sick of it.
So to your point, Tommy, I'm wondering, why do you need the Democrats at this point?
Well, because the Republicans don't have their caucus together.
Why can't we count
one
on...
vote is not...
But David, why can't we count on one party being able to at least move the needle somewhat? I mean, you always have some defectors. I don't know that Rand Paul will turn out to be one because he's already met with Pompeo, but...
And Senator McCain may not vote. So then you're...
Right, okay, but that's not a no.
But then it's a numbers game. And so they do need Democrats.
Yeah, I was just, I was trying to do the math and I couldn't figure it out.
You need Rand Paul. If you have Rand Paul, then you can have Vice President Pence break the tie. And I think that's what it'll end up.
But Tommy's absolutely right. He's already doing the job. And, you know, this is where the Democrats are disingenuous. Shouldn't we be happy that there's some front game to meeting with North Korea's dictator?
No,
there's front game. He's the game.
As a Democrat, I can answer that, actually, though. It's not just about being anti-Trump. There are serious concerns about whether Mike Pompeo believes in diplomacy as a tool to solve problems. Because when
you share that concern, Maria?
Absolutely. When he was a member of Congress, he was very outspoken about military and more hawkish solutions. That's okay. That's certainly one tack to take. Does that mean you should be Secretary of State? I don't know. There are questions to be asked. It's not unfair to ask questions when the Senate is tasked constitutionally with this. And look, I think you may actually get some Democrats. I'm not sure. I think it's still up in the air. He's doing some more meetings. And I also think absolutely one of the reasons that this meeting leaked out that he had with Kim Jong-un was to push along the confirmation, to say, look, he's doing something.
Yeah, but it's not like it's not true, and it's not like it's something that we wouldn't want.
Okay,
I mean,
I'm just saying, I think there was some political strategy
When former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright went to go meet with Kim Jong-il's regime under Clinton, part of the criticism was, well, the nation didn't understand the front game. I mean, did they lay down enough bricks in order for her to walk across that? And those were some big questions.
For
now
25 years, the geniuses in Washington and at Foggy Bottom have gotten North Korea wrong. This president is exuding leadership in what he is doing to try to get North Korea back to the table to actually denuclearize.
And quite frankly, leaving the door open if it doesn't go the way they're planning.
It's exactly what, and everybody remembers this, it's exactly what Reagan and Gorbachev did. Reagan said, we are going to do this, and he walked out of Reykjavik. We all remember in the second meeting between Reagan and Gorbachev, not the first, the second. These are going to be multiple meetings. If this first meeting goes well, it's the first of many. This isn't going to be, we're having a meeting and we're going to have an end result that minute.
That's right.
Yeah. That's what Maria's been talking about.
That's right.
Yeah. All right, we'll leave it there. Democrats are reportedly, meanwhile, facing a growing split over the party's message. When it comes to the midterm elections, could an anti-Trump agenda backfire with voters in Republican-leaning states? We'll debate that. Plus, there could be more trouble for the Democrats in Hillary Clinton's blame game tour over the 2016 election. What a new poll is revealing. Details ahead.
Democrats are reportedly facing growing divisions heading into the midterm elections. Bloomberg is reporting Dems are split on finding an electoral message that will appeal to base voters seething with anger at President Trump while not alienating voters in Republican-leaning states. Party leaders reportedly pushing to run on economic issues. No. Like opposing the GOP tax plan. But liberal groups want a bolder agenda with ideas like gun control measures and expanding Medicare. And this is presenting a challenge to find a broad agenda for candidates in solidly Democratic states like Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren and candidates running in Trump country like West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin. So, I mean, really the economy. We knew this already. Hillary Clinton was, you know, kind of fainting at the thought of going to some of the Rust Belt states. I mean, this got complicated for Democrats already. They've had some time to figure this out.
But they don't have an agenda. They've not had an agenda in years for the American people to further make America great again, which is what Donald Trump ran on. And that's the issue. They only want to impeach this president, and they want to raise your taxes. That's all they have. And if that's what they're selling this November,
shielding illegal immigrants. So it's illegal immigrants,
Sure.
anti-Trump,
Because
raise
they want
your
those
taxes.
votes. Right. Everything's about
winner.
That's exactly right. That's all they have.
So in all of the special elections that have happened, and there have been several dozen now at the state and statewide level,
Right.
Democrats have outpolled Hillary by double digits. In a midterm, the message that matters much more than a national message is the individual district by district message. I think that actually Democratic Party has done a good job of recruiting candidates that match their districts
That's
and
great.
match
What's the
those
message, though?
and match those messages. It's
That's
different
right.
district by district. Look at what Connor Lamb did. Look at what Ralph Northam did. There are messages that will resonate. It is a problem, though, going into 2020. And the problem will play out in the primary, where we try and figure out who my party's nominee will be. Is
Right.
it this? Is it the base? Is it the Elizabeth Warrens? I hope not.
Or is it the new Connor Lamb model?
Connor Lamb, Seth Moulton model that people, I think...
What do you think it is?
I think that it is both. I want it to be more of the moderate, appealing to the base, because a lot of those issues are very important and matter, but we also have to appeal
I
to
think you're
independents.
right. I think you're right. I think it's both, and here's the complication. You can only vote for one. Tommy?
It's a fine line to walk, I admit, and the party leading up to 2020 will be fighting this battle out.
And the further they move to the left, the better it's going to be for us in 2020.
That's true.
But they love
I agree.
the headlines are what wins. The anti-Trump marches, the pink hats, the anger, the shielding DACA and shielding illegal immigrants. That is what the Democratic Party has become. So then you lose the moderates because their voices aren't as loud, their hats aren't as pink, they're not carrying their pitchforks through the streets.
I forgot my pitchfork.
Yeah, but you know,
I left
part
it
of
at
the
the
problem,
hotel.
though, David, with, and Tommy is hitting the nail on the head for the visual that we see. Part of the complication, though, for Democrats is their party is bifurcated like that. And so it is walking such a thin line. Republicans can step in there and do what?
I'm just having a hard time with what I heard from Marie, and going back to the messaging. If you've got Republicans, in control, and you all of a sudden you come up in the midterm elections, and you've still got this message of a strong economy, millions of new jobs, an unemployment rate that has been sinking to multi-decade lows. I haven't heard the economy.
So in a lot of districts, people are not feeling the economy. We have seen wage growth has still been stagnating.
I want to get David back into the conversation here.
There are a lot of districts around the country, just anecdotal in polls, where we see this. And so I think Republicans would be stupid to overlook this. I mean, it's going to be a tough year, right?
But as the tax cuts from December continue to seep into our economy, and as those economic numbers and as our GDP continues to grow, right, we're not going to look back to Barack Obama's 1.6, 1.8% GDP every quarter for 8 years, that new normal that he said would never be able to be changed again. And now we're having several quarters in a row.
But is that enough to get
3%.
Republican voters back out?
But it's only April. If the economy continues to roar on, they are going to have a hard time with their economic message, no matter what lies they try to tell in November.
Well, speaking of politics, a new poll shows Hillary Clinton's popularity has fallen since the 2016 election, as she's remained on the political stage, continuing to cast blame for her loss to President Trump. The Wall Street Journal NBC News survey finds only 27% of those polled had a very or somewhat positive view of Clinton, putting her popularity lower than President Trump's. We've talked a lot about former Secretary Hillary Clinton on this couch. And I know my Republican friends don't ever want her to go away.
Oh, we don't.
I could have predicted that.
Yes.
This makes me, I don't want to use the term sad, but she was...
Use the term sad.
I think she was a competent senator, competent Secretary of State. What she has been doing in this publicity tour since the election has not helped her, and it has not helped the party.
You know why? Because it's a reach for relevance, and you can't. You can't do that. I mean, she's not running.
She hasn't accepted the results of the election. That's first and foremost. She can't get her mind around the fact that she lost. That's one of the, and she needs to President Trump.
I agree.
And that's
she didn't. Come on.
She lost.
She wasn't happy losing to Barack Obama either. Let's break it real.
But
That's why she's even more.
She doesn't want to lose.
Upset, but
no one likes to lose.
Exactly. Don't make it all about President
The Clintons,
Trump.
time and time again, will put themselves before their party, before their principles, to make a buck. That's the Clinton way.
Right. And I think as this goes on, Crooked H is going to be seen in her campaign as the only one who colluded with the Russians. I think that's what's going to end up coming out of the
I call that woman Crooked H.
I did.
He quotes the president's tweet.
But when you go back, and I think we've discussed this before, but Marie, the what happened, her writing this book, to look back at the 2016 election, is so backward looking. Wouldn't it have helped her party to have looked forward? What should have happened?
Or what could happen next?
Absolutely. And to be fair, I think that the party and its new leadership, particularly its younger leaders, are looking forward.
Nancy Pelosi is
and
not
that I said the new leaders, the younger leaders. And I have repeatedly also talked about Nancy Pelosi on this couch, so we don't need to go there. We're talking about someone else. But with Hillary, I have also said she's not helping the party. She has every right to do it.
So how do you get her to go away from your party?
She's a respected public servant. I don't know the answer, Harris. If I did, I would make it happen, man. You know?
Oh, now we're back to sad.
I am a little sad because I
Tommy,
think
you look happy.
Well, I am. But when you mentioned that she's looking backward, well, she's not really looking backward. She's saying that Trump voters are backwards, which again, although it is offensive, it helps us in 2020. Hillary, keep talking. Keep going out there. And the Democrats, they're afraid to criticize her in large part.
I don't think they aren't anymore. Well, I think this will be very interesting to watch that space.
We just need her to write another book.
What had happened?
What could have
happened? Crooked H.
Coming up, new developments on the Dreamers front. The growing pressure on Speaker Paul Ryan to hold votes on DACA from within his own party ranks. The likelihood the Speaker's hand could be forced. What would have to come in?
I'm going to come in with this Fox News alert now. There will be no criminal charges in the death of Prince. It's been nearly 2 years since he was found dead in his home in Paisley Park. That's a suburb of Minneapolis. And in Carver County now, we understand that the doctor who had prescribed an opioid will face a fine of $30,000. But the fentanyl that doctors say killed Prince, they're still trying to figure out how he got a counterfeit dose of that. There was something else mixed in it, and doctors say Prince died, and he may have thought it was Vicodin, a painkiller. There's some questions around what was in his system per that drug that they're now calling a counterfeit pill. But no one will face criminal charges in the death of Prince. And, you know, just looking at notes today, it was almost exactly 2 years. It was April 21st, 2016, that he was found alone and unresponsive in an elevator at his Paisley Park estate. Prince, no criminal charges in his death. Sandra?
New developments on the push to protect Dreamers. More than 50 House Republicans have signed a resolution that would put 4 different immigration bills on the House floor. Republican Jeff Denham, who is facing a tough re-election race in the state of California, leading the push to get Republican leadership to consider the bills. He says 237 members support the resolution, which reflects the expectation that every Democrat would support it as well. But Speaker Paul Ryan has said he will not consider a proposal that doesn't have the president's support. And despite growing pressure from his own ranks, the speaker's stance has not changed. When Denham was pressed on whether he'd file a discharge petition, a tool lawmakers could use to force a vote, he said it's too early to take that step. David Bossie, what do you think?
Well, I think this president has made it very clear that he wants to solve this DACA problem in his mind. And the Democrat Party will not go along, because what the president is saying is, let's fix this broken chain migration issue, let's fix this broken lottery system, and let's build a wall. If we can do those things in a bill, I think it was 1.8 million DACA kids. Some of them are not kids anymore.
Well, extended family, too.
But that 1.8 million people would be able to stay here legally. That is a deal. I may not agree with the deal, but that is a deal that this president has put forth, and the Democrats are the ones who stopped it.
Tommy, I know this is an issue that you are on every single day. How do you feel about this? And do Democrats want to get anything done?
Well, again, if they cared about the Dreamers, then they would want to get something done. But furthermore, if they cared about the American people, they want to fix our broken immigration system. They want to make sure that we have a wall, we have security for the American people, but they're not moving on it. And so they want to use this, they want to make Trump out to be a bad guy, Republicans are a bad guy because we're not for Dreamers. Again, this president has said, I am willing to protect your Dreamer, but we're going to protect the American people as well. Waiting for them, ball's in their court. How long is it going to take?
The ball is actually in Paul Ryan's court on this story.
No.
Republicans in the House have petitioned the Speaker, Paul Ryan, to put forward bills. Paul Ryan has said he's not sure he'll do that. So in terms of just this story, it will be interesting to me how Paul Ryan finishes out his speakership, whether he responds to some of his members, many of whom are not running for re-election because they're worried they'll lose, and how he treats these remaining months he has in this role. I think it'll actually be very interesting to see.
So I'm glad that we're keeping the word ball in here, because I think you've moved the ball on a different court now. This goes back to Democrats being willing to shut down the government on this issue. And when a March deadline came up and it passed, we still haven't heard substantive conversation. We did see Chuck Schumer say, Senator Schumer said, well, I'm going to take that $1.6 billion for the wall back off the table. Now, in the end, the omnibus had it. But this has been all around something that Democrats really could have done more on behalf of DACA recipients.
Well, but Donald Trump also has changed his position a number of times.
We're talking about the ball that was in the Democrats'
a big, beautiful wall.
Okay, but that's not a bill. That's a statement.
No, but this bill that you're talking about doesn't have the wall as a component. It only is a fix for DACA. So
again,
there's no deal involved.
But this is a Republican bill. So again, this is not the Democrats who are unable to solve it. There are differences within the Republican
Party. I said be part of the solution.
There are differences within the Republican Party itself.
Tommy, go ahead.
I agree with you. And when you were talking about Paul Ryan and his members, I think we should remember the true members, and that's his constituents. That's people that elected these people to go to D.C. to make sure we get the things that we voted for. In large part, it was fixing the immigration system. It was a wall. That's why President Trump is in the White House. Republicans are letting us down, too.
Tommy gets the last word on that. More Outnumbered in just a moment. We'll be right back.